We're going to start with the Western Conference. Kyle, from the 7th to the 10th seed, we have the Los Angeles Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the San Antonio Spurs. So I'm asking you straight up, with the news today that LeBron James has re-aggravated that ankle injury. Granted, he did say in his press conference that he was okay. Do you think that that injury could hinder his ability to play at 100% in a winner-take-all game to solidify the 7th seed of the Western Conference?
No, he'll be fine. They play Golden State in that 7-8 matchups, and I think the Lakers are going to win a close game in that 7-8 matchup between them and the Golden State Warriors. I like the way that the Lakers finished off the season. They did finish on a 5-game winning streak to close out the year. And I think what you're starting to see is the Lakers kind of rounding into form at the right time, because now everybody's back from injury. Anthony Davis has gotten over his calf Achilles injury that he was dealing with halfway through the season. LeBron, even with the little ankle thing that he dealt with in the last game of the season, I don't expect that to be any sort of issue moving forward. If anything, they'll probably just bandage him up and ice him before the game. He'll be 100% fine. And I think it does set up a really cool series for the Lakers going up against the Suns then, because if the Lakers do win that Lakers-Warriors game, that's who they would go up against in the first round of the playoffs against Phoenix. So I'm not worried about LeBron's little ankle turn that he had yesterday. I think he'll be fine. He said so in the press conference, like you just mentioned. And even if he's not 100% for that game, he's going to do just fine. He's still probably going to drop somewhere between like 20, 25 points. Honestly, he may even go for 30 just because of the pressure the pressure that comes with this game. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to the Lakers, you just got to find a way to stop Steph. You have to find a way to at least slow him down, because if he gets cooking, it's going to be a much closer game than I think the Lakers want it to be. Because, bro, we saw Steph in the last game of the year against Memphis drop 46, and you even had players like John Morant of the Grizzlies saying that that's the MVP. Just the way that he's been playing this second half of the year, it's absolutely nuts. And if Steph gets on a hot streak in that Lakers game, the Warriors may find a way to win that game. I have more faith in the Lakers team than I do with Golden State's team, because when you look at Golden State, it is really just Steph carrying the team. Granted, the Warriors have some decent role players in Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre. It's just that they've been a little bit too inconsistent for my taste this season. So Steph is going to do what he needs to do. It's whether or not that Andrew Wiggins and Kelly Oubre and even Draymond can step up to the plate and make a difference in that game against the Lakers. But I do have the Lakers winning that matchup, and they will get the 7th seed. And then when you look at the Grizzlies and the Spurs matchup at the 9 and 10, it's a trickier one here for me, but I'm actually going to go with the Spurs here, simply because, look, the Grizzlies really haven't been in what I would consider really a big pressure game since like 2013, 2014, when they had that group of Mike Conley Jr. and
Zach Randolph,
and Marc Gasol, back when they were going up and giving OKC a real run for their money. And it's a brand new crop of players from Memphis coming into the fold. And I'm not 100% sure that these guys have that experience as somebody like Greg Popovich does. Now, granted, the Spurs are the 10th seed. They barely got into the play-in tournament. But DeMar DeRozan has some decent playoff experience. And I think that he could possibly carry this team to a win over the Grizzlies. It's going to be a much closer game, and that's why I kind of struggled with this pick here. But I'm going to go with a little bit of expert leadership here with Greg Popovich leading the way. Granted, this is not like the San Antonio Spurs from a decade ago when you had Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili running the show, and even Kawhi towards the tail end of it. But I like the coaching matchup, and I think it favors Greg Popovich here more than it does with the Grizzlies. So I'm going to go with the Spurs to win against the Grizzlies. I know that may come as a surprise to you, but I like the matchup. I might be wrong on this one. I'm going to go with the Spurs, though. And then that would set up a Golden State Spurs matchup for the A spot. And I do believe that Golden State would get the A seed just because I don't think the Spurs are going to be able to stop Steph. I don't see it. So I don't even know if the Lakers are going to be able to really stop Steph. They may be able to slow him down, but I mean, if the Warriors lose to the Lakers, you could pretty much guarantee that Steph's going to basically go for 50 in that last game against the Spurs to get the 8 seed. So
wait, hold on. You're saying that you have the Lakers beating the Warriors,
they get
and
the 7.
then you have the Spurs beating the Grizzlies.
Yep.
So then you have overall Golden State coming out with the 8th as a conclusion.
Yeah, because then Golden State would play the Spurs for the A spot, and I got the Warriors winning that one. So yeah, but the Lakers get the 7, Golden State gets the 8th, and that would set up the Western Conference playoffs.
Basically, it stays the way it is.
Yes, as it currently stands right now, just based on the current standings, that's what I have it as. It's just that I don't have the Grizzlies winning. I have the Spurs winning in that 9-10 matchup.
So I am a little different. Again, this all depends on the health of LeBron James. If Bron's ankle, God forbid, he tweaks it again, or you know what I mean, like it hinders him from playing at 100%. Like he's wincing throughout the game. He's got a minute restriction, and of course, if Steph Curry starts to pop, because if he at any point in time isn't picked up from half court on, I think that the Lakers are doing him a disrespectful service, and they're doing him a favor because it's like he has just literally pulled on every elite defender this league has. And the Lakers don't necessarily have the greatest of wing defenders. I mean, you have KCP, you have Wesley Matthews off the bench, maybe Taylor Horton Tucker, maybe Kyle Kuzma. I don't know if they put a bigger body on him. The point of the matter is it's going to be a very annoying night for a lot of people to have to go out and guard Steph on a regular play in and play out basis. Obviously, like you stated, Steph is the literal life and breath of this whole team. So Kyle jokingly said earlier, if you don't double him right off the bat, you're being stupid. And I agree with that completely because he's on that hot of a tear. Obviously, first legitimate minute of the game of Golden State wins the tip. You got to kind of feel it out for the type of play that he's going to go for the game. But I mean, like, as the game continues, and if he hits a 3 or 2 in a row, or he hits a bucket or 2, hits some free, bro, you have to double him. You can't give him any air to breathe. And you make all of the role players around Steph beat you. You make Draymond, you make Damian Lee, you make Kelly Oubre, Andrew Wiggins, Kevon Looney. You make all of those players beat you because overall on paper, we all know that the Los Angeles Lakers are better than a 7th seed, but it's just the injuries that have put them in this position. So as Kyle stated, I would agree. I think that the Lakers win this if Bron is healthy, but if at any point you see that Bron is slowed down or limited, don't be surprised if the Warriors come back in this game and they take that. So if I had to put my money on it, I will say the Lakers take the 7th. I will go the opposite way with Memphis and San Antonio. I think that the return of Jalen Jackson Jr., whatever his name is, I think that that's going to make a very big difference in terms of the pick and pop for John Morant. Dillon Brooks and Grayson Allen have played very, very well this season. Obviously, Valanciunas has had a great year. San Antonio, unfortunately, ended the year on a 4-game skid, went 2-8 in their final 10 games. The stellar coaching ability of Greg Popovich can only go so far when players are just not executing. I don't think that DeMar DeRozan is enough to carry a depleted San Antonio team past this young and electric, potentially up-and-coming Memphis team. But, I would definitely say that I go Memphis coming out with the 9, or coming out of that matchup, and then I say Golden State comes out for the 8th seed. So at the end of the day, we have the same end result. I just see it going a little differently with Memphis. So that's my prediction for the West.